So, I hear Brian Stelter, and he talks for 30 minutes about how Fox News is this huge purveyor of disinformation. They're the enemy of the people. And then I come up and I say, wait a second, run that back, because actually CNN, from what I've seen at least, is probably 10 times the purveyor of disinformation that you claim Fox News to be. And, he didn't really have a great answer for it.
Well, some of the examples that you threw at him, are subjective. I agreed with your take on it. But some of them were just objective. Like CNN did dismiss Hunter Biden's laptop as Russian disinformation. That kid's on camera doing it. Wouldn't it have been better if he would have said, yeah, I got that wrong. I'm sorry about that. Wouldn't that have worked?
Gosh, I mean, to tell you the truth, I didn't exactly expect him to hand over the keys and say, you know what, we're corrupt. Go ahead, Chris, and make CNN the truth. But I did kind of expect him to say, we retracted those stories and we apologize for saying that. And we always, keep a clean. We try to keep a clean record. But there was no apology. There was no remorse whatsoever. It's just, I don't know what news network you're talking about. That's not mine. When in reality, he said these things on CNN. It's all documented.
That was college student Christopher Phillips there speaking with Fox News' Tucker Carlson about the viral moment he ripped into CNN's Brian Stelter. Last week, the college freshman questioned Brian Stelter, who was a guest panelist at the University of Chicago's discussion on disinformation and the erosion of democracy. He tells Tucker that the CNN anchor trashed Fox News for 30 minutes, talking about how the network is a purveyor of disinformation, when in actuality, from what he has seen, CNN is probably 10 times the purveyor of disinformation. Mr. Phillips cites a few examples, being when CNN pushed the Russia collusion hoax, when they pushed the Jussie Smollett hoax, and of course, most notably, when the network dismissed the Hunter Biden laptop story. The Fox News anchor questioned Mr. Phillips on whether it would have been better for Brian Stelter to just admit his network makes mistakes, as all media outlets have done before. He said he didn't expect a lot from the CNN journalist, but he did expect him to apologise and show some remorse over what mistakes the network has made in the past. But he didn't do that. He instead told the college student that he was watching a different network to him. In case you missed it, here is Christopher Phillips ripping into the Liberal anchor late last week.
My name is Christopher Phillips. I'm a first year at the college. My question is for Mr. Stelter. You've all spoken extensively about Fox News being a purveyor of disinformation, but CNN is right up there with them. They pushed the Russian collusion hoax. They pushed the Jussie Smollett hoax. They smeared Justice Kavanaugh as a rapist, and they also smeared Nick Sandmann as a white supremacist. And yes, they dismissed the Hunter Biden laptop affair as pure Russian disinformation. With mainstream corporate journalists becoming little more than apologists and cheerleaders for the regime, is it time to finally declare that the canon of journalistic ethics is dead or no longer operative? All the mistakes of the mainstream media, and CNN in particular, seem to magically all go in one direction. Are we expected to believe that this is all just some sort of random coincidence, or is there something else behind it?
It's too bad. It's time for lunch.
You have 30 seconds.
No, I mean, there's a clock that says 30 seconds. But I think my honest answer to you, and I'll come over and talk in more detail after this, is that I think you're describing a different channel than the one that I watch. But I understand that is a popular right-wing narrative about CNN. I think it's important when we talk about shared reality and democracy, all these networks, all these news outlets have to defend democracy. And when they screw up, admit it. But when Benjamin Hall, the Fox correspondent, was wounded in Ukraine, the news crews at CNN and the New York Times stopped what they were doing, and they tried to help. They tried to help him get out of the country. They tried to find the dead crew members. That's what news outlets do. That's how they actually do work together, to your question about sharing those kinds of connections and trust. We don't talk about it enough, though. We don't share that reality about how that happens. And with regards to the regime, I think you mean President Biden. The last time I spoke with a Biden aide, we yelled at each other. So that's the reality of the news business that people don't see, that people don't hear. They imagine that it's a situation that simply is not. But I think your question, it speaks to the failure of journalism to show our work and show the reality of how our profession operates. We have a lot of work to do, I think.